was the boogeyman.
As a matter of fact, it was.
What's going on, horror fanatics? Welcome to I Shot Him 6 Times YouTube horror movie channel. As you know, I'm your host and creator of the channel, Marcus, and in this video I'm going to be talking about Scream 7 and a new direction that seems we are heading for with this 7th installment of the franchise, with this being a legacy sequel of sorts that will involve many returning OG characters within the Scream franchise. If you have not done so already, please shoot this video a like. It definitely helps out with the YouTube algorithm a ton, as well as if you happen to be a new viewer to this channel, please shoot that subscribe button as well as the notification icon so you get all the latest content updates to the channel. Okay, everyone, with the big news coming out earlier in the week of Melissa Barrera's firing from Scream 7 and Jenna Ortega's exit from the franchise shortly thereafter due to scheduling conflicts, one could only think the same will be announced soon with the other two Core 4 alumni from Scream 5 and Scream 6 in Chad and Mindy Meeks Martin, portrayed by Mason Gooding and Jasmine Savoy Brown respectively, as we seem to be headed for a Sidney Prescott focused film for Scream 7. Now, could both Gooding and Brown return in 7, given these characters are the niece and nephew of legacy character Randy Meeks? It's possible, but given the fact Gooding and Brown are real-life pals with Barrera and Ortega, and given the reasoning why Melissa was fired, that possibility of a return seems highly unlikely in my opinion. This thought of a Sidney Prescott-focused film for Scream 7 was only heightened when Variety dropped this article shortly after Ortega's exit announcement, stating Spyglass has both Neve Campbell and Patrick Dempsey on their wish list to return. Now, this article also states that Ortega wasn't thought to be returning before Melissa's firing and even before the actor strike took place, and that both her and Barrera were only signed on for 2 films, Scream 5 and Scream 6, and that new deals would have had to be worked out for them to be in Scream 7 to begin with. However, in my opinion, I don't believe that to be true, as former directors Radiosilence and the actresses themselves spoke about the characters Samantha and Tara Carpenter in such ways that seemed they would most certainly be in Scream 7, but again, that's my opinion on the matter. Along with the return of Sidney Prescott, we will be getting her now husband and father of her kids, Markkincaid, Galeweathers, and Kirbyreed. As is well documented, all of these characters are still alive in the Scream franchise, with the possibility of Stumacher returning if they decide to go with the original concept for Scream 3. But we could also get the return of Deweyriley in some shape, way, or form in the film as well. Now, though the story is being rewritten, I'd like to think the premise of the film would be to focus on and kill off most, if not all, of the legacy characters once and for all, while also revealing a backstory from Sid's life she may or may not be aware of, a la Scream 3. And I'm going to break down a few ideas on how each character would be utilized in this possible legacy sequel. I'll start off with Dewey and how you could incorporate him in the film, but before I do, I want to point out that in my opinion, we cannot have him actually alive and in the movie throughout. And the reason being is because if we do get Stumacher back in Scream 7, like many of us hope, it would have to be after the events of Scream 5 and 6. Because if Stu is revealed alive anytime before those events, it would defeat the purpose of the newer characters in Scream 5 and 6 not knowing who he is, as his return and subsequent actual death this time around would be front page news in my opinion. And the newer characters would have been made aware of this, especially given the dialogue in Scream 5 and 6 from Sam and Mindy respectively, with Sam referring to the last known Ghostface killings happening in 2011 in reference to Scream 4, and Mindy's dialogue in Scream 6 doubting if Stu is actually dead. If Stu came back before those events and is killed off for good, like we all would assume to happen if he escaped death in the first film, there would be no reason for Mindy to doubt whether he is alive or not afterwards. Another reason why Dewey can't be alive in Scream 7, and this may be the most important reason yet, is because in Scream 5 we see Sidney jogging while pushing her kids in a stroller when Dewey gives her a call to notify her about the latest Ghostface attacks, which tells me that both kids are still relatively young, maybe even toddlers, and given the rumors we've gotten so far, Sidney's kids will be most likely in Scream 7, and if that ends up being true, they would be a couple years older at this point, and as we know, Dewey was killed in Scream 5, which is why he cannot be alive and be in the film throughout. However, there are still 3 ways in my opinion that we could see or at least hear Deweyriley present in Scream 7. The first way is we see Gale sleeping and she has a nightmare of Dewey, chastising her about writing these new books based on the events of Scream 5 and Scream 6 before briefly turning into Ghostface and attacking her, prompting her to wake up. This would serve as a twisted yet effective homage to Sidney's dream of Maureen Prescott in Scream 3. The second would be for Ghostface to use Dewey's voice to call and toy with Gale, as an homage to Roman Bridger in Scream 3, using his version of the Ghostface voice modulator where he was able to use multiple characters' voices while talking on the phone. And the third would be for Dewey to have a video that he recorded before his death, giving Sid and everyone else the new rules of this new trilogy, a la Randy Meeks in Scream 3. And given how Dewey was quote-unquote the rules guy in Scream 5, I believe this could work as another solid homage. As for Markkincaid, outside being married now with kids to Sidney, you can possibly utilize him as the head of the police department where they reside, or even the head of the FBI division where they reside if he is still in law enforcement. And if he is, this is also how you can work Kirby into the fray, being she is an FBI agent based in Atlanta. And if her and Sidney are still in contact, like it seemed Kirby and Dewey was in Scream 5, it would make a smooth transition for Mark and Sid to call her up and help with the investigation, given she takes a special interest in Ghostface attacks, and she is a legacy character in her own right, who the killers would be trying to eliminate as well. As for Gale, there isn't really much to add, as I assume we will be getting the same old Galeweathers that we have grown accustomed to in the franchise. I believe Gale will write a book about the events of Blackmore University, the events from Scream 6, maybe even possibly be attached to a true crime documentary series on said events like she was with the original Stab films. However, I do believe this may be the movie we could see Gale die, as if you recall in Scream 3, she was supposed to die in the third Stab film, so it would not surprise me if the creative team decides to pay homage to that and kill the character off once and for all in Scream 7. If we are to get the return of Stumacher in Scream 7, the obvious direction would be the original plan for Scream 3 and to reveal he never died in Scream 1996, to where we get a backstory of sorts on how he survived and stayed off the grid for so long, while leading a cult of Ghostfaces to go after Sidney and the rest of the legacy survivors, with the possibility Stu in the final act reveals something to or about Sidney we as the audience aren't aware of, much like Sidney finding out in Scream 3 that she had a brother that she had no idea about. And last but certainly not least, Sidney could and would not only serve as the iconic, lovable final girl we've grown to praise over the course of the franchise, but we will be getting an in-depth look into her life as a wife and a mother, something we have yet to get up until this point in the Scream franchise. But there is also an opportunity to reveal something about her character that she is aware of but has kept secret from everyone else for many years, kind of like Laurie Strode in Halloween H2O and her own mother Maureen Prescott, adding a twist to the character to freshen things up, all to see her finally confront this secret, defeat it, and ride off into the sunset, finally giving her the proper send-off and happy ending that she deserves, so that we can finally move on to newer stories and characters within the Scream franchise going forward. Neve Campbell herself has stated in previous interviews she still feels that there is a story to tell with Sidney Prescott, which tells me there is something about the character that has yet to be revealed. With Guy Busick and James Vanderbilt set to return as the writers for Scream 7, which I know some fans aren't too thrilled about given the writing faux pas that we got in Scream 5 and 6 from the pair, new director Christopherlandon has stated that being a part of the writing process is pivotal to him, and given how directing this next film is somewhat of a full circle moment for him, being way back in 1996, he was actually the first one to read the script for the original Scream film, I am more than optimistic he can helm a legacy character-driven Scream movie that we the fans will admire and love when it's all said and done. But okay everyone, that is it for this video. Leave a comment in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts on this legacy character film we could be getting for Scream 7, as well as let me know your thoughts on the ideas I laid out for each character's incorporation into the film, if indeed this is what we're getting for Scream 7. Once again, this is I Shot Him 6 Times YouTube horror movie channel. I'm your host and creator of the channel, Marcus. Be sure to follow me on X, Instagram, and Patreon. Thank you all for watching.